Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from Saratoga Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 2nd of August, 2025. Gonna look at the stakes races on the program from Spa. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for race courses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Join me today for my Hambletonian preview from Jersey, from the Meadowlands, and also the final day of the Glorious Goodwood meeting in the UK. And also tomorrow, with the Prix Rothschild from Deauville, the racing in France at Deauville starts heating up. So join me for most Sundays at Deauville in the next couple of weeks. But good card today, Whitney Day at Saratoga. Other than Travers Day, this is always the second biggest day of the year, and this year's Whitney looks very nice. So we're going to be looking at the stakes races three, 8, 9, 10, and 11. So 5 races to look at. Let's get to the smorgasbord of racing, if we could get to the right page here. The third race from Saratoga, it is the Saratoga Special. It's a Grade 2 event going for a $200,000 purse race for 2-year-olds here. Originally, field of 6 horses are entered. We'll be down, the 2 and 4 are out of it. So we'll be down to a field of 4 horses going 1,300 meters or 6.5 furlongs in the Saratoga Special. I'm going to go with the 6-horse Obliteration as a top selection. We're going to go 6-1 in the exacta here. I think it's 2-horse race between those two. 6-1 exacta, top selection is 6-horse Obliteration. 3-year-old Colt by 2-year-old Colt by Violence here. Steve Asmussen trains. Flavien Pratt gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Sanford Stakes here at Saratoga. 6 furlongs on the 5th of July. Went by 10 and a quarter lengths that day. Not the best beginnings, but after that, he went straight to the front end, and then he flew home clear, quickened up nicely. I thought that was a very good race. Refreshing here, an extra half furlongs off the bench. He's done everything right. I think he's sitting on a very good run. Came around the 12th of June prior to that at Churchill, 5.5 in the main special weight for 108,000. Went by 7.5 lengths that day. He stalked all the way around the race course. He was a little bit wide, but when he had the turn of foot, he came home clear. 1, 2, 3 out of that race, and quite a few others were all next out winners. So just keep that in mind. That might have been a very good, 2-year-old race early on in the season. Like I said, he's training well come this one. I think as distances get longer, he's going to get better. 7 to 5. I'm going to use him on the ticket. Don't throw out the 1-horse viewing for Mark Cassidy and Irad. He ran on that 5th of July card also there at Saratoga. He ran the first race. Obliteration ran the third race. But that main special weight, he won by a dozen that day. And he hit the gate going out of it, but after that, it didn't really matter because he just kept going on the front end. A very good race. Another horse here coming second off the bench. Mark Cassidy has decent numbers. Another horse getting a longer trip, right for a mile, mile and a quarter as the future goes on. He's a very likely winner here at 8 to 5. I know it's a crap, short price horses here, but I think both these horses have, logical futures. So, definitely use them here and keep an eye on them as the season goes on. But to recap my selection for the third from Saratoga, it's Saratoga Special. I'm going to take the 6-horse Obliteration, give kudos to the 1-horse viewing, 6-1 exacta. And like I said, we're going to use them both in the multi-race. So we're going to head over now to a little bit better betting race, the 8th race now from Saratoga, the beginning of the pick 6 here. It is the Fourstardave Stakes. It's a Grade 1 event going for a $750,000 purse race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field here of, again, as the page could, work. Field of 10 horses going 1,600 meters or a mile here in the Fourstardave. One of my favorite races of the summer here. I'm going to go with the 6-horse Intellect as a top selection. Going to go 6-8-3-5 in the superfecta. 6-8-3-5 super. Top selection 6-horse Intellect. This 4-year-old Gel Mantello here. Chad Brown trains. Flavien Pratt gets the mount. I ran the horse most recently, the 5th of July at Saratoga. A mile in the inner and the Kelso. And he finished second by a length that day. Think big, really, was one of the few horses that opening weekend to close up in the back of the pack to win at Saratoga on the inner. Ran terrifically with a 98 buyer. This horse with a 96 buyer stalked. He had the lead. Think Big just caught him late, but he ran his heart out that day. He could just slow it down, have that one run, and keep the momentum going. I think he could run a good race. His buyer has definitely been on the improve, and his buyer could definitely keep up with these horses here today. He ran 2 back in the poker at Saratoga, a mile on the 5th of June. Again, very similar turf course that played towards speed. Donegal Momentum really ran terrifically on the front end. This horse closed up well behind him. He just missed late, but he ran his heart out there. And then prior to that, first start stateside in the Lowndes race at Keeneland over the mile 16th. First start in 364 days. He finished third by 3 lengths that day. He had a very wide trip, but he was closing up well. I didn't think it was a half bad race. Since that race, he's really improved a lot. If you look at it over his races in France, okay, they were in listed company, but they weren't bad at all. He's the kind of horse. I think if you go through his form in France, when he was seeing fast ground, that's where he really showed up a lot. Very good place on fast ground and conditions race in June of 2023 at Longchamp. And then when you saw soft ground last year, he was running well, but he just is another horse on the fast ground. Drawn well, should see pace to close up into at 5-1. I think he's a very likely winner. I think the 8 horse deterministic for Miguel Clement and Kendrick can win also. He ran the Manhattan here on the 8th of June and went by a head that day. He was on the front and all throughout. Speed was very, killer on the inner turf course the first few weeks at Saratoga, especially in June. And he held on to the race, gamed it out to the wire. Very good run. He is cutting back in trip to a 1 turn mile, to the 2 turn mile here today, which shouldn't be a problem. Should be, it really doesn't need the lead here. I think he'll probably get a good tracking trip. And I think he could find that turn a foot late, but he freaked in that Manhattan here a few weeks ago. He ran prior to that Aqueduct mile Nathan, the Fort Marcy, won him by 4.5 lengths that day. Kendrick just sat some on the front end with him again that day and just set some easy fractions. He went away with a good run. And then off the bench at Keeneland, mile Nathan slop off turf in the Lowndes race. He finished second by 1/4 lengths. He sat on the front end. He just got, overtaken late, but he ran his heart out. They tried him last year over the longer trip in the Jockey Club Derby over the mile 3/8, where he just, couldn't keep up late. He had a little bit of turn of foot, but I think his better trips over mile and 8th, which he won after that in the Hill Prince at Aqueduct, winning by a length that day, closing up in the back of the pack. A very good race. He likes running on this turf course. I'm gonna give him a shot here at 9-2 on the ticket. Don't throw out the invader here, Johannes. He's done everything right against the Southern California turf horses, but he's stepping up against big boys here today. He hasn't been seen since winning the San Miguel, or excuse me, the San Gabriel back in opening day at Santa Anita, but he's run triple digit buyers his last 5, but those were in Southern California, turf races, which aren't they're good races, but they're not, as good as the East Coast turf races. But his British Cup mile race wasn't bad at all on his home turf. Refreshing here. I'll give him a shot 5-2, but I do think the other 2 horses are more likely winners. But it's going to be a very good 4-star Dave this season. But to recount my selection for the 8th now from Saratoga, it's 4-star Dave. I'm going to take the 6-horse Intellect, give kudos to the 8-horse Deterministic and the 3-horse Johannes, 6-8-3-5 Super, 6-8-3 in the multi-race. The 9th race now from Saratoga, heading over to the Mellon Turf Course. It is the Saratoga Derby. It's a Grade 1 event going for a purse of $750,000 race for 3-year-olds here. We have a field of, let's see, 9 horses going 1,900 meters or mile 3/16 on the Mellon Turf Course. Gonna take the 7-horse here. Hot as hell is top selection. 7-6-5-3 for me in the superfecta. 7-6-5-3 super top selection 7-horse hot as hell. This 3-year-old colt by Too Darn Hot here. Jessica Harrington trains. Shane Foley comes in to ride this horse. His first start against older horses came about a month ago at Sandown in the UK, a mile and a quarter in the Group 1 Coral Eclipse. The Coral Eclipse, shall I say, is like the mid-season Whitney for turf horses in the UK. It's the first time really older horses and the 3-year-olds, meet up. And, it was a good running this year. Delcroix really ran terrifically. This horse was with him early on, but then just kind of yielded off of it. He just, maybe just not 100% cranked for that race. I think coming here a little lesser quality horses, a little bit quicker ground. I think he's sitting on a good run. He didn't run half bad at all. Takura 2-back over the mile in the Group 1 Irish 2000 Guineas. He finished third by 4.25 lengths that day. He was with him early on. Field of Gold just had the jump on him, was the next start winner. Ran a clunker after that at Goodwood this week, though. But this horse, he, like I said, just couldn't keep up late, but he ran his heart out. And then the Group 1 Futurity Trophy at Doncaster over the mile, very soft ground late October, winning by a nose that day. He was on the front end with Delcroix that day. Delcroix just yielded off of him. He had the turn of foot, and he grinded it out to the wire. Very good run. Delcroix, had the upper edge on him in the clips after that, but, not a bad race there. And then the Beresford Stakes Stakes at the Cur over the mile in late September. Won by 3/4 length that day. Had a bit of a troubled trip that day around the turn, but after that, he came home clear. I like him over the fast ground. I like him around 2 turns again here today. I'm going to give him a shot here on the ticket. I think the 6 horse here, New Century for Irad and Brendan Walsh, can win also. He ran most recently in the Belmont Derby over the mile and eighth here earlier in the month, where he finished fifth by 2 lengths that day, and he just kind of stalked and just came home flat that day. Maybe need the race there. I do think over a longer trip he's going to do a little bit better. He ran in the American Turf prior to that, Churchill over the mile 16th in May, where he finished third by 1/4 lengths. He stupidly long turn of foot that day. He just missed late that day. Zulu Kingdom just had the jump on him. But again, he ran his heart out, and then he ran the Craven Stakes at Newmarket over the mile back in April, getting beat by Field of Gold that day. He just did not show up. His races stateside weren't bad at all last year. He came to win the Summer Stakes and then came back to run a decent fourth from a wide trip in the British Cup Juvenile Turf last season. Refreshing here, training well. I'm going to give him a shot here, 5-1 on this ticket here, and even the 5 horse test score for this pick four. He won the Belmont Derby quite impressively, a great place in the American Turf before that. He's done everything right against this division. Watch out for him. He's another horse that goes up well with that extra half furlong of the previous race. Let's recap my selection now for the ninth from Saratoga. It's the Saratoga Derby. Gonna take the 7 horse here, hot as hell. Give kudos to the 6 horse, New Century, and the 5 horse test score. 7653 Super, 765 in the multi race. Let's get to the 10th events now from Saratoga, which is the test stakes. It's the grade 1 test stakes, going for a purse of $500,000, race for 3-year-old fillies. 8 horses going 1,400 meters or 7 furlongs. Gonna take the 1 horse Ragtime as a top selection. 1,634 in the superfecta. 1,634 Super, top selection, 1 horse Ragtime. This 3-year-old filly by Union Rags. Belmont trains. Junior Alvarado gets them out. Ran the horse most recently in the 5th of July at Saratoga. 7 furlongs and allowance race that day, and he won by 4.5 lengths. He stalked all around the race course. When he had the turn of foot, he really, took off clear, yielded up late. That was a good run. 96 buyer in return that day. Come here, first time stakes quality horses. I think he could really run a good race here today. And also, Belmont, decent numbers with horses that won their last start, 24%. So I think this horse is sitting on a good run. He ran on debut Belmont Stakes weekend here over the 7 furlong, 6th of June, wins by 3 3/4 lengths. Didn't have the lead that day. He sat back early after a bit of a bumpy trip, but he circled the field late, and then he came home clear. Very, very good, impressive race from the rail that day. It's going to be drawn on the rail. Hell, if he wants to get to the front and have to use some speed here, or he could circle the field like he did last time out. It's lightly raced, but has done everything right. I think he could find a trip to the winner circle. I think the 6 horse here, who is, if we get this page flipped here, I think the 6 horse, Echo Sound for Luis Saez and Eddie Keneally, or excuse me, Georgia Arnold can win also. He's done everything right this season so far. Came back off the bench in the Miss Preakness over the 3/4 of Pimlico, went by 2 lengths that day, closing up in the back of the pack. A very good driving victory. Came back to run the victory ride earlier in July at Saratoga over the 6.5. Only had 3 other rivals, but went by 4.5 lengths with a 101 buyer. He really came home quite impressively. He's only lost once. That came to Ferns Creek last season, where he just was a little bit way too out of it. But I think coming here to the 7 furlong trip for the first time, off of a decent run, I think at 9-5 he could definitely win here. I think it's a 2 horse race between these two, so we're only going to go too deep here in the pick four. But to recap my selection now for the 10th from Saratoga, it's the grade 1 test. We're going to take the 1 horse Ragtime and give kudos to the 6 horse Echo Sound. 1,634 Super, 1-6 in the multi race. Let's head over to race number 11 now from Saratoga, the big race of the weekend. It is the Whitney Stakes. It's a grade 1 event going for $1 million purse, race for 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a very good field of 10 horses going 1,800 meters or a mile and eighth here in the Whitney. Most likely the 1 horse Mind Frame will be withdrawn, so it'll actually be down to a field of 9 horses. I believe Mind Frame is targeting the Jockey Club in about a month's time. With that being said, I'm going to go with the 5 horse Sierra Leone as top selection. We're going to go 5-9-2-3 in the superfecta. 5-9-2-3 Super, top selection 5 horse Sierra Leone. Viral colt by Gun Runner. Chad Brown trains. Flavian Pratt gets them out. He ran most recently in the Stephen Foster at Churchill, mile and 8th on the 28th of June, and he finished second by length that day. That just didn't go a little bit fast enough for him that day. He closed up well. Mindframe had the jump on him, but he ran his heart out that day. A race prior to that, he ran this New Orleans Classic at the Fairgrounds, mile and 8th on the 22nd of March, and he finished third by 4 1/4 lengths that day. Again, 30 cents a dollar. He was a little bit flat that day. He needs a quick pace. He's going to get the quick pace today because I think there's a rabbit in this one. Chad Brown and Peter Brandt entered the 8 horse contrary thinking, and this horse has some pace here. So, like I said, I just think Dylan's job from Chad and Peter Brandt is send the horse, 21:44, 108 to 3/4, something like that. And, your job is done. And I think it's going to set up for Sierra Leone and possibly even Fierceness. But, I think that with the rabbit in here, it's going to really suit up for Sierra Leone. He won quite impressively last year in Breeders' Cup Classic, where he had pace to close up into from a wide trip, went by 1.5 lengths. He'd run it out to the wire. That was a very good run and probably one of the best classics we've had in about 15 years there. And then, last year's Travers finished third by 3 3/4 lengths, where nobody was catching Fierceness or Torpedo Anna. He was the best of the rest that day. He's only won 4 times, but when he wins, he wins quite impressively. He won he won the Risen Star, won the Bluegrass last year, and won the New Orleans or won the British Cup Classic last year. But then he was placing against some tough horses. He's just, he's always the bridesmaid. It seems never the bride. But I think he could switch it today. They think highly of him. $2.3 million purchase quite a few seasons ago. I'm going to use him on the ticket. I think the second likeliest winner is the 9 horse Fierceness for Johnny V and Todd. Won the Al Sheba off the bench at Churchill in the mile 16th in May, quite impressive by 1/2 lengths. Came back to run the Metropolitan Mile here over the Wilson Mile back in early June, where he finished second by 2.5 lengths, where Raging Torrent just had the jump on him. He didn't get out of the gate so clear and was just a little bit wide, but he was gaining that day. I do think his better trip was over a mile and 1/8, a mile and a quarter, but he ran his heart out. And then last year after the Derby, where he was sent off his favorite, where he just didn't show up, he had a great run in the Jim Dandy. Came back to win the Travers quite impressively with a 111 buyer, and then ran his heart out in the British Cup Classic. He really, after the Derby race, that's when he really matured a lot. And I think he's sitting on that good run. He's run triple digit buyers in most recent outings with a 107 in the Ali Sheba last or 2 starts back. 9 to 5. He's gonna have to come wide post draw, but I think he could get a piece of it here today. I'm definitely going to use him from the ticket. Like I said, I think it's a 2 horse race here between Sierra Leone and Fierceness. So watch out for these two today. But to recap my selection for the 11th from Saratoga, a very good running of the Whitney. Going to take the 5 horse Sierra Leone. Give kudos to the 9 horse Fierceness. 5-9-2-3 Super 5-9 in the multi race. So good luck to all. Please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kid 5. Good luck, everybody.